Hi again. At this point, everybody should be done with all of their note sheets. You've read all of your articles, and you should be at the point where you're really formulating your idea for your paper and what are the points that you're going to make about your claim. So as I had mentioned, my claim is going to be that kids can survive a divorce and thrive and grow up to be happy and healthy. So what I'm doing now is writing the outline for my paper. The outline is really just a skeleton of your paper. You're not going to have all your details in there. You're not going to have every single thing you're going to write in the paper, but you're giving yourself a little roadmap so that when you're actually sitting down and typing your paper, you already know what you're going to say. When you're typing the paper, you flesh out the ideas, you explain your ideas more fully. But the outline is necessary because otherwise you're just kind of rambling and you can go off in different directions and not stay focused on your claim. So the way I design the outline is that you're going to write your body paragraphs focused on getting back to your claim, getting back to your claim, getting back to your claim in every single paragraph. So everybody should have printed out from my website the outline for the research paper. Okay, if you did not print it out and you want to work on it on your computer, that's totally fine. It's a Word document. If you have Word, you can just work on it at home. That's fine. And then you can even email it to me later on when you're finished with the whole thing next week. And I can give you some feedback as to where you might need to add things, where things get off focus, or anything like that. So you can type it or you can handwrite it. It's up to you. If you do handwrite it and you want feedback, you'll have to take a picture of it and send it to me, and then I can go back and forth with you via Remind. I'm still working on setting up Zoom, so we'll figure that out next week. Okay, so this is the first page of the outline sheet, and I already filled it in because I thought it would be easier and less boring for you to go through my thought process. So the first thing you want to do on your outline is write a little bit about the background information on your topic. You don't want to just jump in and say kids are going to be okay if parents get divorced. Okay, what's the controversy? What are the issues surrounding the topic? So I wrote down the fragmentation of the family unit has been the blame for many psychological problems for decades. Children of divorce can experience emotional issues during and for many years after a divorce. Okay, that's a one-sentence sort of overview of the problem. Now, here's my question. But can they recover and end up leading happy, healthy lives? Okay, so that's your problem-based question. Your answer to that question is your central claim of your paper. So my central claim is that it appears that if parents and other family and friends provide proper support, children can adapt to their new situations eventually. So my whole essay, my whole paper is going to be about this idea that if the parents give kids the support they need, that they can be okay. So that's going to end up being my introduction for my paper when I start typing. Notice there's really not a lot of detail in there. It's just a general overview of the topic, my question, and the answer to that question is your claim. So going into your first body paragraph, what is the first thing that you might want to talk about? What's the first concept that you're going to discuss in support of that claim? So one of my articles is just a general article detailing the history of divorce in our country. So my first paragraph is going to be about how divorce has become fairly commonplace over the past 40 years. Okay, so that's my topic sentence, my supporting claim number 1. It's fairly common. That means that everything in this paragraph needs to be about that. One of the most common problems I see in these research papers is that you guys jumble up a bunch of information in each of your paragraphs, and it becomes confusing and difficult to read, and then your point gets lost. So you really want to try to stay as organized as possible. That's why I gave you this outline. What is the evidence that divorce has become fairly commonplace? over the past 40 years. Okay, so that's where I put in a quote from one of my articles. Okay, so here's the quote. Quote, "A commonly cited, though frequently disputed, statistic states that about half of all first marriages end in divorce." Okay, so that's a quote. Half of first marriages end in divorce. Notice that I put the little number 1 here, okay, next to that quote. All right, that tells me that I got that information from article number 1. Okay, so I numbered my sources. Why did I number my sources? Because on your works cited page later on, when you're done typing and everything else and you format your works cited page, your sources need to be listed alphabetically. Okay, so my first source, the first word in the works cited page is going to be divorce. How do I know that? It's right here on the back. That's the first word that's going to appear in this citation. Okay, so that begins with D. The next one begins with F for the author's last name. So that's source number 2. The next one begins with H. So it's source number 3. And source number 4, the author's last name begins with a P. So that's the last one. So I make a note for myself here so that later on when I'm typing the paper, I can properly use MLA parenthetical citation right there after the quote. Okay, but for now you don't have to worry so much about it. It's just a matter of keeping track of where you're getting your quotes from. Okay, so I took my quote. Now I want to explain why that's important information and how it connects to your topic sentence. So I wrote, with divorce being so common, children might feel more comfortable knowing they are not alone in their suffering. Also, since it is so common, more and more research has been done on the effects on children. Okay, so I might flesh that out later when I'm writing my paper. I'm going to add to that and expand on that idea a little bit more. But for now, just for my outline, that's enough. Okay, we're just getting the groundwork here. All right, now I'm going to, in my paragraph, have some more evidence. Okay, so many studies show that the vast majority of children possess great resilience and the ability to cope with their new life situation. Okay, so I'm talking about how it's more common. There's been more research, and this research has shown that kids are pretty resilient. So I'm explaining further. All people have to deal with some sort of hardship in life. Sometimes dealing with pain can make a person stronger. Okay. And then finally, unfortunately, marriages don't always work out. Children sadly have to adjust to parents separating, moving to new homes, fighting, and general turmoil. Okay, so I start out my paragraph talking about how common it is and how children need to adjust because it is so common. More and more kids have to deal with it. Okay, so I'm not going to overwhelm you by completing the entire outline today, but try to work like this, okay? Try to work in pieces. This took me about 15 minutes to do, and I'm sure you have other classwork that you need to take care of. So get your introduction done, get your first body paragraph done, and then the next day you can go ahead and figure out your next claim, and I'll help you out with that too. Thank you for visiting, and if you have any questions about how to do the outline or my cat Chloe, please contact me via Remind or email, and I'll be back maybe tomorrow, and we'll do the next part of the paper. Bye. She talked.